Thanks for doing the show. Thanks for
course.
having me at your house, at your super cool edit station.
Edit station.
I think the last time you and I were in the room together was 2016. Do you remember what project that was?
The Nostradamus special?
Yeah.
Editor and host Amy Peters drives to the shore in New Jersey to talk to Tara Brochon about her nonfiction editing career.
A number of Nostradamus' prophecies that are so accurate and so extraordinary that not to look at him would be a big mistake.
Tara has been editing since high school when she took a broadcast journalism class and edited packages for TV 21. She later interned at Fox 29 Philly and moved up on Teen Mom and Brain Games.
The masculine woman will exert herself to the north.
As far as being strong-willed, strong-minded, guts of steel, and tough as nails.
She edits for History Channel, TLC, MTV, and Netflix. Sometimes she takes pretty pictures as a side hustle, including this one.
Unbelievable!
Hire her.
Well, in my opinion, Nostradamus always gets it right.
Now we visit her at her home office to discuss the state of the television industry.
Hey y'all, welcome to Behind the Carnival Barkers. An irreverent behind-the-scenes podcast that interviews the craftspeople who make unscripted television. Hosted by me, Amy Peters, who is a New York-based Emmy Award-winning editor and producer of nonfiction content. Tara Brochon and the Edit Apocalypse, Season 1, Second Episode.
This show is supported by KizzleKit. Make your party a hit with KizzleKit. Please shop for your fancy lifestyle accessories at KizzleKit.com. That's www.kizzlekit.com.
Taped at the shore in New Jersey.
Talk to me about like what you do.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm an offline editor, so I primarily cut unscripted content before it gets all colored and fancy, and I put together the story. I'm a storyteller, but in the edit.
That's interesting because a lot of people, especially news and heavily produced things, they don't want to think the editor does storytelling. But in our world, we end up doing a lot of the heavy lifting with story. Can you tell me your craft and how you pull that off, like your approach?
Yeah, I do agree with that, not all forms of editing are from a storytelling perspective. Typically, just from the start, getting familiar with the footage that I have so that I can pull out those emotional moments or things that are compelling or visually compelling. And then, we are working with producers that help shape the narrative of the story. But if something isn't flowing in the edit, then I feel like that's where we're shaping the pace, and sometimes like the connective tissue, I feel like isn't registering to the producers on paper, and that's where we're kind of bringing it all together, I guess. So I like to start with music and just familiarizing myself. So once I have the bare bones of my bites, the music kind of dictates the feeling and the vibe, and then the footage can kind of be hitting on that. That's typically it's like a little bit of mixture of both. I like to have the basic foundation of the story, but then as the music gets laid in, it almost lends itself to telling me what needs to be removed, or like this is taking too long to get to the next beat or whatever.
So that's funny because I usually do music absolute last, but I see how music kind of does parentheticals around the beats and the moments and stuff. So it makes sense, your approach also. When you were talking about how you get it together, though, in the very beginning, do you find that you need to organize it in just the way your brain computes, or do you just jump in and start watching it?
Well, these days it feels like you get what you get, and like you just have to do it yesterday. In my ideal world, I would have it organized, not in a super specific way, but to my mind, in the context of that project, what makes sense. Like if it's a crime show, then maybe I want to separate the crime scene from just like generic kind of B-roll and archival, and there might be a different flow to the organization depending on what the content is. But yeah, lately it kind of feels like I'm getting folders full of stock footage called people, and it's like, okay, what are these people doing? So,
or where are they? If you're doing a rural scene, you don't want a city street in Tokyo.
Right, exactly. So sometimes it's just like looking through the thumbnails, and then it is just, I have to see what I've got. But
what do you remember about the before days, pre-COVID, pre-strikes, like back when we first met, 2015, 2016? What was the
just
vibe?
the landscape at that time?
Yeah.
I don't know. It does feel a little bit like in some ways things got kinder after COVID and a little more like considerate, dare I say. Pre-COVID felt like, who cares if you're sick? Get it done, come in. Still tight deadlines. I don't know. Yeah, it's funny to think about pre-COVID worlds.
But it seemed like you immediately went to the place of how hard it was to work in editing. Can you reflect upon like just sort of the dog eat dog world we work in?
Yeah, I mean, from what aspects? It feels like just being in the edit creatively, trying to have an input while trying to address its, I don't know, it's not always friendly environments. It has evolved a lot. In the pre-COVID days, going into the city, it was like some places were very clock watchy about a hard 10-hour day, and that felt frustrating for anybody commuting because like you're not factoring in that I have to spend an hour plus on a train. And it felt like the vibe was more like they wanted this to be your whole life. And so like the hard 10 hours, so much of that time was wasted with like producers like wanting to watch things that weren't ready yet, and maybe sometimes people with a level of self-importance like jumping in and putting their hands on things. And so I like that in post-COVID, at least there's some separation of job roles in that way. I do think some producers don't like that they can't just pop in the editor's bay now, but it felt like more pressure because they were on top of you, even though it wasn't like you were doing any more work. It felt like more hours were wasted during the day. And post-COVID, we had a boom, but now we're in a bust. So not only am I working twice as hard, I'm working well past my 10 hours to make sure I'm getting these like impossible deadlines done, and for a fraction of the rate that it was.
Right.
So the rate pre and post COVID, I feel like stayed the same. Work got more abundant, and then it just plummeted.
And so how are you finding the collegial aspects of it? Is it you're more productive at home, but do you miss hanging out with people? Like how is that mental health wise?
Yeah, socially I do miss, because I made a lot of friends through gigs like that, like you. So, you know, without working in person, I feel like these types of relationships cease to exist, and that kind of stinks because it's, you know, I'm an adult. Where else do I meet people nowadays? I'm not, you know, going out to the bars on the weekends. It's like, that's my people. Those are my peers. So it does stink. I mean, I do still have my community. Luckily, I'm not just getting into television now, but, you know, maybe there's other people that maybe on the neurodivergent spectrum or even things like that where they do better remote and they can do that high level of creativity, but they don't need to have that social aspect. I miss it, but I don't, because then there were times that, some people that you work with are kind of triggering, and it's hard to step away from that when you're stuck in a room with them.
Yeah, I almost feel like a hybrid would work for me, but now you've moved.
Right. If I was still close, that would maybe be okay, but I think if you're able to do remote, it should be up to you. If you want a hybrid, come in the office, do that, but if you're capable of being remote, then I should be capable of being remote.
Right. But let's be for real. They save a shit ton of money on the overhead, right? Because edit bays are generally isolated rooms that should be soundproofed. and with enough space for two people to sit and work. And now they don't need to provide that as much.
Right, but then I guess there's that like weird corporate oversight thing where like there are bigger corporations that own the buildings, and there were many projects where I wasn't even in an edit bay. I was in a producer like glass, cubicle in the wall and sharing it with another editor too.
Yeah, I don't like it when they have us sharing or forcing us to use headphones.
It was like this close. It was like one long desk and we were shoulder to shoulder for an Emmy-winning project. Yeah. Because all the edit bays were booked. And that was right before COVID hit. I remember talking to my fellow editor about, oh, you hear this thing going on in China?
Oh, yeah.
And then we like wrapped the project, and it was like a little after that we were just out.
I was at ABC and actually one of the correspondents had come back from Wuhan and was like, yeah, there's a thing. And my producer,
like the news, it was trickling in.
It was trickling in January. Yeah. And my producer refused to sit in the same room with him. And I took a picture of him. There's a photo of him outside our room because he's like,
he was scared of it coming.
And I got really sick in January. The whole family did. We were asked out for like a week in a way that I had never been sick before.
I wonder if it was.
It must have been an early version because it wasn't the symptoms of COVID, but it was something that was not the flu. Anyway, and that was January. And then later in the year, we did a piece for 2020 that was about how we knew in January, but we didn't take action until March. And then March, by then I was on a different gig in Connecticut. So speaking of terrible commutes, I was driving up to Connecticut because a lot of production companies were moving up there at the time. And that seemed to be the place to be. I have definitely been hired on things specifically because they think I'm fast or a rock star, whatever they need. They just bring me in to be the wolf and fix something and then put me in some sort of a pit. With
there's no respect given.
Well, it's like, do I demand respect? I don't know if that's what it is. I think you want me to be good at my job, and I can't work like this or shouldn't work like this. I can't hear.
Well, that's what I mean. Just like respect to the craft, even that like you want me to do this, and you're putting me in like a really like there's just no consideration given, and in my mind, that's respect.
Right.
To like what it takes to do this, and that you need to concentrate and like. Maybe it's a little arrogant, but yeah, I mean, you're the artist coming in to fix a problem that is, for us creatively, but for them financially. You want to get this done. Yes. You want it entertaining. You want it to make money and sell and keep eyeballs. So like you're demanding art at its highest form to, and to pull that out of yourself constantly. It's like, it's a weird thing to be like, be creative now.
Yeah.
So you should kind of foster the environment where that person can do that.
And I feel like you're hemorrhaging cash because we're expensive.
Well, they never see it that way because then it'll still get to the online even. And then they're doing stuff that an AE could have done.
Yeah.
It just costs more money the more they push it off down the line.
Right.
I've worked on a real estate show and it was a budgeted enough show pre-COVID, and they didn't shoot B-roll as a choice. They were just living in verite, and it's like, what am I gonna cut to? And it's a realistic, like, aren't you supposed to be showing off? Like there's just not. I don't know. There's some disconnect, I think, sometimes between a lot of people on the team.
Not only did you guys have a sex pest on that show behind the scenes, but then you had no B-roll.
Yeah, he was the first episode on that. And then I came on and I was like, he's been cutting AMA clips. What's he doing? And he didn't even know.
Yeah. No.
That show was a trip.
Yeah, it sounded like a nightmare. But I've been on a show where they've told me, okay, so we don't want it to feel produced. In the interview where they're seeing if they want to hire me or not, I was like telling the showrunner, but you still have to produce it.
Right.
And then we make it not look produced.
Right.
They hire me, we get into the edit, and I'm asking the showrunner what the show is about, and he was mad at me for it. Like, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense to have this guy flouncing about Europe without any sort of like anything. And he's like, just figure it out with the supervising producer. And then he ended up, they all just decided to fire me, a bunch of dudes, and get a dude editor to do it instead. But it's like, how
they
do
don't
you
want to help you along the process. They just want you to figure it out and get to the correct answer. Like somehow there is a correct answer. They don't know what it is. But I'll know it when I see it. But you need to figure it out. And if you dare ask for context questions or for me to actually tell the story, yeah, no, you're gone. I've picked up that trick. I've even asked like male editors, like, how do you get along with this person? How do you deal with this workflow when, you know, this is frustrating and I got to go in and reproduce and whatever? And they're like, just do it. They just don't say anything. They're just chill guys. And like, those are the ones that, and I'm like, all right, I guess that's how you survive.
I did the exact same thing. I was having trouble on a show understanding what they wanted. And I went to my male colleague and I was like, how are you getting by with this? Like, what are you doing? Right. He's like, well, I just edit it and I play it and they tell me what they think. And I'm like, that seems so obvious.
So easy, right?
But at the same time, I was like, okay, I'm trying too hard.
Responded to the same way that we do.
Right.
So they make it sound easy because it is for them.
Right. Yeah. And I started out with the order or feeling like it was my assignment to help with story. And then I spent way too much time doing story and I wasn't editing. And then they were like, this is clunky. And I'm like, I was just trying to get it strung out.
I feel the same way.
Story.
It's like I spent a lot of time working, but it doesn't look like that. It looks like a crappy cut. But you don't know how much compensating I just did.
Right. And an EP friend who was being a story producer on that particular project, she told me, and this is infamous, we talk about it to this day, this moment of clarity where she's like, don't ask questions, just do it. I was like, oh. And so I try to do that. And every new job I do, I bring a different version of that. And it's just hard to strike the balance. And I'm not sure. I don't want to say it's because of my gender or my ambitious feels. I don't know what it is, but like, it's definitely super challenging to figure that out. Now that we're in post-COVID, post-strikes, I think the big thing on everybody's mind is like where they find work these days. So, and not interacting and reminding people of your existence in the office. That kind of detracts from finding work. How are you getting along?
Not well. Yeah, the job I'm on now is less than half my rate of what it was. And I'm still working 50-hour weeks just to make that rate and then prep for online. Like doing way more than even just that job title. And then I'm attempting to build a business doing photography and content creation for brands, for small brands, big brands, just branded content. But a lot of that's going the way of social media. So I'm trying to build a business and all that goes along with that, like running a website and social media and all that. And then I'm also in a class to learn the business side of social media and content creation for YouTube. And it's a different landscape. There's different ways of selling yourself that way, but I'm still in a lot of the building foundational phase. So it's not bringing in the income yet, but I feel like I'm getting close. And as far as staying in touch with people, it's just little things like this here and there, but it's been hard for me because I'm so far from the city and, with my kid and my time spent trying to build up extra things. It's like, where do you find the time? I don't know, just trying to still be a storyteller and make my bills and not give it up completely. And I don't know. I don't know what's next.
So earlier you had mentioned something that I thought was kind of key and nobody else has brought up yet is where you are in your career and the timing of this lull might actually be in your favor because you are established. what about new kids trying to come in and do documentary editing? And reality isn't really an option for them, I don't think.
It's just a dying genre.
Yeah. Talk about that a little bit. What do you think?
Well, I think reality is morphing a little bit because it's more docuseries now than the trashy reality, like the manipulative editing. That was fun. I mean, but we don't do that anymore.
We never did.
So
What are you
I think
talking
there's
about?
still somewhat of that genre left, but there's just not a lot of work in it because nobody's watching TV anymore.
If a kid wanted to come in out of college
that's what,
and start editing, what we do isn't a thing for them to do anyway.
It's
but
morphing,
yeah. So on one hand, the work from home, the mentorship that went away with that is because assistant editors would work with their editors and learn the ways of the samurai while also doing their job that was more empirical, like dates, cards, copying, transcoding, and then they would maybe get to learn how to edit.
Right.
But even in 2018-ish, I feel like production companies are trying to save money by siloing assistant editors.
I was gonna say, I feel like even before COVID, they've been less like learning opportunities. So back to the like getting into it now. I taught a class on how to use Premiere at the community college, and I'll say teaching these collegiate level students, I was a little concerned at how much they had difficulty navigating simple tasks on just like their computer because they're so on their phone. And that's not problematic. If anything, I have more of a problem that I can't edit on my phone. Like then that's what's making me feel like the dinosaur, because if they're going into social media, they can edit on CapCut, they can edit on free apps. They're more intuitive into that. But when I was like, just save it to your desktop, they're like, what's that? And like, where's a folder? How do I like open a project file? Like the structure of a computer was so foreign to them. And I'm like, you want me to teach them how to use Premiere?
Wow.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I hadn't even thought of that.
Interesting to say the least. But they don't have computer literacy anymore because it's phones now. So that all translates like the landscape. We're just being phased out.
Wow. That baseline of computer folder structures is fascinating. Because to me, it's
we
my
were
everyday.
the ones that was like, oh, our kids are going to grow up with computers, so they're never, and it's like it's not even computers anymore. Now it's my kids growing up with a tablet and a phone.
Wow,
and everything is app based.
Right, and the cloud versus
right, and that drives me nuts. I'm like, where's my files? I don't know. I don't understand where they are in my phone.
Right, and you want to verify. You need to know, and then you want it backed up. I
still do hard backups. I do the cloud, so if my phone goes in a lake or something, I always have it. But periodically, when my phone gets full, I do a hard backup, and I organize it into months and in my videos and photos. And this takes so long. I'm sure there's an AI that could do this for me, but I don't.
No.
I manually do all of it. I just sort it by date and separate.
Because you need to know. You need that security. And they don't have it. Because we come from a world where if something on a hard drive gets deleted, it's gone. And that is excruciating.
I lost a master hard drive one time, and I cried for days. It was like so much. And then I had to go into Facebook, and whatever was on Facebook, I like re-downloaded just to get memories that I had lost.
An archive.
Yeah.
I actually had a
CP. I was lucky to have had that.
To at least have that, yeah. I was robbed of my computer one time, and it had all of my music on it. And this is like 2007, 8. So it was like before the cloud, and it was the whole library. I collected it from ripping all of my CDs because I was backing them up, but then also whatever came from Napster and beyond. Poof, it was all gone. And that was so brutal. I never got back into music. Like, you have a band to go see later. I don't even have bands. I saw Tyler, the Creator, recently, though.
You don't do like Spotify or Pandora?
No, I can't. It hurts too much or something. I never got back into it.
I've been listening to Alanis Morissette Pandora radio, and it slaps. You should do it on your drive up later.
I think I might.
It's free. Just plug it in.
Wow. All right. So now that we've dated ourselves,
Right.
you haven't been working as much, but also the content itself is, are you finding it's more short form? What's this true crime thing? Is it a full 44-minute episode?
Yeah, this is a full, this is a full, just regular standard true crime, 40 minutes.
So you did every single cut that's on that sequence behind you. Yes. That is yours.
That's my baby.
All right. That's awesome.
There's 103.
Episode 103. Yep. So going back to the idea of how kids could apprentice with editors, and the old style of doing that was kind of apprenticeship, but then they started to kind of break apart the roles where I would be on a show and not even know who the AEs were, and it was because there's a pool, and you definitely have that knowledge gap that disappears. And the fact that they're using CapCut and stuff, like my kid, they do whatever TikTok trend it is. They like reshoot a trailer for an animation in real life, for example, is a trend. I'm like, okay, so they're content creators at birth. You
can sell those templates that CapCut has. You can make them and then sell them with like the trending audio and like the fast cuts and the transitions. Get good at the appy stuff. And it feels clunky to me, but I am wanting some of the features of like the AI integration that Premiere doesn't have. Like this is so robust that it's not fast enough. Like if I have to manually, the auto transcription now with the captions is great in Premiere. I don't know if you've used that yet, but that's cool. But with the apps, you can very easily do the captioning, but then you can also have it like highlight each word as they're saying it, or like remove the background and to put me on like a green screen very easily. Like I don't have to be on a green screen. The AI just, pops me out of it. And so all of that in the app editing is like, how do I translate that to this, or should I just get on board if that's the content I'm making, where it's like pop, 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 and certain sound effects and these like real flashy transitions. I don't have to spend the time building it in Premiere. I could just go to that and do it.
That's interesting, because the reason I started using Premiere is because of the text editing that it's capable of, that Avid is just so behind the 8 ball on. Because Avid is good for multiple people on a singular series doing multiple episodes. Premiere is not as strong. They tried to do the project feature, which kind of worked. It doesn't have like the bin lock. Anyway, and the text edit was phenomenal to me, but what you're saying is the apps are even faster at popping out the background, because
Premiere is not built for anything. It's for whatever you could dream of, you could do it in Premiere. But the apps are specifically that kind of content, then that's faster to do it for that.
And vertical. And like it's native vertical. Which to me, I still can't stand to watch.
I feel the same way. My husband, it's like, when you're shooting our son, turn it sideways so when I edit it later, I can have the widescreen. So all of our family members turn it. But nowadays, it's like, well, if I'm going to be posting it on Instagram and I'm going to be watching it on my phone, like if that's literally where it's getting viewed, then maybe I should just start shooting it that way, and then I'm just framed right. The vertical editing when I'm making the UGC content.
What's a UGC?
User-generated content. I am having to shoot it vertical because it's just easier than having to frame it up later.
But then you look at it that way? I don't know.
You just view it on your phone 9:16. Like the kids do.
That's so wild to me. But what is interesting also is I don't think that they're adverse to watching deeper, longer narratives necessarily.
Statistics say otherwise.
Oh, really? I thought I was going off some facts that they'll watch it if it's on YouTube.
Maybe. I do think there is a different pacing to it, and there is still that like more addictive element of the way these things are cut and how flashy they are. Like with this UGC stuff, it's like that was a breath, like too slow, faster, make another edit. The jump cuts doesn't matter. Like cut. They don't like, they're not caring about like the flow and where your eye is going. Like maybe they can watch a longer form thing, but it seems like growing up with this social media escape, like we were saying, like now it's not even computers anymore. They're just straight up starting on the phones. Then that's the content that they're used to. And I've heard different studies with regards to like screen time for my son, that if they're watching like 90s cartoons, like Bear in the Big Blue House and like Roly Poly Oly, those shows, kids had less tantrums when they turned it off. Like they didn't have a problem with it. But obviously, like the more modern, faster paced stuff, they're having these tantrums, and it's because it's got that addictive, like flashy quality to it. I think that translates to the phones too. So then, I don't know. I think you probably could track it to the box office also. That like, what is Gen Z and younger? What are the young kids watching? It's TikTok and like really fast stuff.
Gosh, the thing that blows me away about what the kids are watching is all the words, because I can't watch it and read all the words and track what's going on in the background. And I asked my kid, I was like, why are these
Their brains are just trained for it?
Disparate, like they don't even relate to one another, like a Reddit story on top of a process.
I've seen those. That's algorithm tricking. That's what that is. The video will be something random, like baking a cake. Then like you'll hear, or it'll be like a reaction on one side. The audio is like a story being told, and then the other side is like baking a cake. And then the caption is like the Tesla, whatever, and it's like talking about a car. And that's just keyword pinning and stuffing, and like I know that like pictures of like white women with children and puppies and things get boosted by the algorithm more. So if I post a selfie, I'm more likely to show up elsewhere than if I posted a picture of like, I don't know, my computer or my coffee cup or something, because white woman for some reason gets boosted more. So
and you were talking about like techniques used for retention, the flashy.
There's so much to it. Like if you get a comment, that counts as like that. I heard a creator describe it like a point system, at least on Instagram. And the more points you get, the more it'll get promoted to like the For You page, and then the algorithm pushes it more. So if you get a comment, that's like worth the most amount of points. So people who post like rage stuff, or it's like, oh, you have a typo in your whatever, and it's like you're tricking people into getting them to engage in very specific ways to get it boosted, and then somewhere that translates to money for someone. But yeah, it's like, what am I even watching? I don't know.
Yeah.
A slime video, maybe.
You're talking about reality being manipulative, and that's not existent anymore.
You know what? That's a good point. That's like the new version, I guess.
Yeah. You talk about AI. It's a concern of a lot of people taking our jobs, but you've obviously embraced it. Can you talk about your path to figuring out that you should, and then why?
Yeah, I mean, I have some similar fears. And I think it's going to cut down the amount of jobs that are available when, you know, AI makes it easier for people to do things faster and, you know, less resources. But yeah, to that end, I've embraced it as a tool to help me with speed and efficiency, and just honestly things that I could do manually, but if it's going to do it for me faster and better. My only concern is the evolution of AI and how it's getting used. And I know that CapCut specifically, have you heard their new terms update? They changed their terms so that basically anything you upload into CapCut, anything that you cut in it, they own it.
No.
Forever. And they can use your likeness into an AI avatar somewhere down the line. It's just like you just lost all ownership of your material because you've uploaded it to their application. So That's scary as we get into like, even with user generated content. Now there's this like, hey, use this site and you can generate an AI avatar that's like, you know, and then I can just punch in, you know, woman in luxury bathroom putting on skincare cream and it will generate that for me. But it almost feels inevitable, but it feels like we're still a ways off. I do think that, at least in terms of advertising, that consumers still want that human aspect, and consumers are still going to want to see a real person using a product before I feel trust in that brand. And I think brands know that too. So there's some fear there, but I'm not too scared of it taking over the human element that we have and that we can bring to things.
Even if it got better at it.
Maybe. I think it would have to be so good that you literally could not tell the difference. And I think the video, they look great, but there's something about them you can still tell they're not human. You can still tell, and not everybody can tell. Like, I know some of the boomers are like seeing these fake news clips and things, and like that's what's scary about it, that you could just falsify something. Like, you could put the president up there saying something that didn't say or didn't happen, you know. And if people are believing that, that's scary. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess it depends on the audience. Some people are tricked by it already. I don't feel tricked by it yet, so I think that corporations might still want that human element, but it depends on the product. You know, if I can generate a picture of a sandwich and I don't even need a person in it.
Yeah. Well, so what's your personal future, your outlook on where you're going?
Well, I touched on a little bit before that I've got trying to do branded content and user-generated content with my own business. And I'm still editing. I'm still doing TV shows when I can. I don't know. I guess just still more content creation and seeing how I can work myself into the social media niche world.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think if it gets into more of a virtual 3D setting, what we're creating, the worlds we're creating, have a place in the future also. It's just like everybody relearning the tools. And it seems like you've totally figured that out, like the direction to go in. So
I'm trying. I don't know that I figured it out. I'll let you know when my bank account starts growing. That's when I figured it out.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you very much for having this chat.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on another enlightening conversation here on Behind the Carnival Barkers. Tara really brought home how much our industry continues to evolve at a breakneck pace. For me, the discussion has sparked considerable thought about not just the future of our field, but also the next wave of editors. Beyond the logistical shifts, it's the human element, the storytelling, the collaboration, or lack thereof, and the sheer passion for the craft that truly defines what we do. We'd like to thank Tara for chatting with me today. You can find her work at Lightplay Visuals. That's LIGHTVISUALS. Title music is provided by DJ Williams, whose work you can find on YouTube at DJW Music. Post-production services are provided by Audio Photo Synthesis. We'd also like to thank our sponsor, KizzleKit. To shop for your very own fancy lifestyle accessories, go to www.kizzlekit.com. That's KIZZLEKIT.com. Next week on Behind the Carnival Barkers, Jeremy Trott takes the time out of his schedule to have coffee and give me his thoughts on editing under pressure. Please follow us on social media for the upcoming schedule, guests, and other programming notes and updates. Sign up for our newsletter at carnivalbarkers.substack.com, and please hit the like button if you enjoyed this conversation.